Would you raise your hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you please state your full name?
Jeffrey Edward Epstein, and my residence address is 6100 Red Hook Boulevard in Virgin Islands.
Have you ever been convicted of a crime?
Yes.
What happens next is where the Epstein Files move beyond a single criminal case and become a mirror held up to global power structures.
I thought I was going to die.
As investigators dug deeper, they discovered that Epstein did not operate alone. Court records and testimonies repeatedly pointed toward a network: recruiters, facilitators, pilots, assistants, and associates who helped maintain the system that protected him. At the center of this operation was Ghislaine Maxwell, described by prosecutors as a key enabler who helped recruit and groom underage girls. Her eventual arrest and conviction confirmed what survivors had said for years: Epstein's abuse was organized, sustained, and supported.
Prince Andrew and the former President Bill Clinton have been named.
More are expected to come out.
Financial records revealed another layer of complexity. Epstein's money did not behave like normal wealth. Shell companies, offshore accounts, and opaque transactions made it difficult to trace who funded him and why. Investigators noted that despite presenting himself as a billionaire financier, Epstein had very few publicly known clients. This raised serious questions about how his lifestyle was financed and what leverage he may have held over powerful individuals. The unsealed documents, often referred to collectively as the Epstein Files, did not function as a list of criminals. Instead, they exposed a pattern of proximity. Names appeared not because guilt was established, but because contact, meetings, flights, or introductions were documented. This distinction became crucial. Courts repeatedly emphasized that being named in files was not proof of wrongdoing, yet public trust was already eroding. The damage was not only legal, it was institutional. Media organizations also faced scrutiny. For years, journalists had pieces of the story but struggled to publish them. Some investigations were delayed, softened, or dropped entirely. Former reporters later stated that pressure from powerful interests influenced editorial decisions. The Epstein Files therefore became an indictment not only of the legal system, but of every institution that intersected with Epstein and chose caution over confrontation. It exposed how law enforcement agencies hesitated, how prosecutors compromised.
A brilliant manipulator, not just of vulnerable girls and women. He was a brilliant manipulator of powerful men.
A really heinous crime on an absolutely massive scale that was allowed to continue and continue and continue.
How regulators overlooked red flags, and how social prestige acted as a shield stronger than any legal defense. Epstein did not exploit a single loophole. He exploited an entire ecosystem of deference. Each failure alone might seem procedural. Together, they formed a pattern of protection. The case also forced a reckoning with how society treats victims when the accused is powerful. Many survivors reported being dismissed, discredited, or quietly paid off. Their credibility was questioned not because evidence was lacking, but because the consequences of believing them were inconvenient. The Epstein Files reveal that silence was not accidental. It was engineered through fear, settlements.
Just how awful this story is. The damage that was done to these women is incredibly hard to even express. This has been completely life-altering for them. It's incredibly unfair that this was allowed to happen with impunity for so long. It's really important that we understand the difference between having these allegations swirl around and seeing that people were willing to swear to them under penalty of perjury. It's an incredibly hard thing to do, and they were all willing to do it and to swear to the truth of it.
Equally disturbing was the normalization of proximity. Powerful figures continued to associate with Epstein even after early allegations became public. Invitations were accepted.
If Epstein got away with, he wouldn't have been able to do without her helping to recruit, groom, and entice underage girls.
But she wasn't just the organizer, was she? She was also an abuser herself.
Yes. So we also heard at trial from multiple victims that she was in the room when the abuse was happening and that she engaged in the abuse herself.
The files show how reputational laundering works. When enough influential people remain present, suspicion loses its urgency. In the aftermath, governments and courts promised reform. Victims' rights were revisited. Non-prosecution agreements came under scrutiny. Transparency laws were strengthened in some jurisdictions. But the deeper question remains unresolved. Would the outcome have been different if Epstein had been poor, unknown, or powerless? The Epstein Files do not offer easy villains or clean endings. They document a system that worked exactly as designed, efficient at protecting itself, slow to protect the vulnerable. That is why the case continues to resonate. It is not frozen in 2019. It echoes forward, shaping how journalists investigate, how courts justify secrecy, and how the public responds to power when it is exposed, uncomfortable, and impossible to ignore. For many people, the Epstein Files shattered a long-held belief that justice, while imperfect, ultimately reaches everyone. Instead, they revealed a hierarchy of accountability, one where influence can delay consequences, reshape narratives, and sometimes erase them entirely. Public trust in institutions did not collapse overnight, but it fractured in visible ways. The reaction was not just outrage, but cynicism. People began questioning plea deals, sealed records, and sudden case closures with greater suspicion. Whistleblowers were listened to more carefully. Survivors were believed more readily, not because society had suddenly changed, but because the cost of disbelief had been documented in painful detail. At the same time, the case demonstrated the limits of public pressure. Online anger was intense, but short-lived. News cycles moved on. Names appeared, debates erupted, and then silence returned. The Epstein Files showed that attention alone is not accountability, and that sustained oversight is far harder than momentary outrage. What remained, however, was a shift in awareness. The public learned how abuse networks can exist without secrecy, how institutions can fail without collapsing, and how justice can be delayed without being officially denied. This awareness became the case's quiet legacy, not dramatic, but permanent. In that sense, the Epstein Files did not end with court rulings or convictions. They became a reference point, a line in history that future scandals will be measured against. A reminder that when power is exposed, the true test is not what is revealed, but what society chooses to do after the revelation fades. And that question, what happens next, is the one the Epstein Files leave deliberately unanswered.